from aorta, do you see? If you remember, aorta has, do you see, left, right, and posterior pockets, do you see? And from, do you see, left pocket, and from right pocket and from left pocket will begin, do you see, here, the openings for the beginning of the coronary arteries. Right coronary artery exits, do you see, here, and lies into the coronary groove and directs by coronary groove, do you see, to the back of the heart and comes to the back of the left heart. Left heart is separated from right heart by interventricular posterior groove, do you see? And right coronary artery comes here. Before its, do you see, visit to the left part, it gives interventricular posterior artery, which directs to the tip of the heart. You can see from left pocket, begins, do you see, from left pocket, this is posterior, excuse me, from left pocket, do you see this opening? Begins coronary left artery. This is coronary left artery. Coronary left artery, it has distance, not 2, 3 centimeters, 2.5 centimeters individually, and it is subdivided into the interventricular anterior artery, which goes by interventricular anterior groove for the meeting near the tip of the heart with this interventricular posterior branch from coronary right artery. You can see, do you remember here when the interventricular posterior groove and interventricular anterior groove, which includes the same arteries, when they connect, they do notch. In this notch, interventricular posterior artery from right coronary, interventricular anterior artery from left coronary, the anastomosis. Another subdivision of the, do you see, coronary left artery, this artery, it, do you see, lies into the, do you see, into the coronary groove and comes to the back of the left heart and anastomosis with continuation of the concrete right artery. Right coronary artery by itself will anastomosis with branch of the left coronary artery, which is called circumflex. Circumflex artery from coronary left will anastomosis with coronary right. Interventricular anterior branch from coronary left will anastomosis with interventricular posterior branch from coronary right. This will be 2 circles, one horizontal, another sagittal, and they will give many another branches to different sides. You can see right coronary artery, it, do you see, goes to the back and supplies, do you see, the whole right atrium, do you see, the, do you see, right ventricle and, do you see, the 2/3 parts of the interventricular septum, do you see, and the posterior side of the left ventricle, right coronary, the posterior side of the left ventricle together with with posterior papillary muscle and posterior cusp. Did you understand? All another objects are supplied by coronary left artery. It is very important. For example, your cardiology doctor will give you description of the cardiogram and will be infarction of the posterior wall of the left ventricle, the interventricular septum, and posterior left papillary muscle. You, by your knowledge, must understand in what artery will be the contraction, spasm, or the clot. In what artery? Oh, you don't listen me with attention.
Coronary left.
No, my dear, I said you, coronary right artery by itself came to the posterior side of the left atrium. I explained you some minutes ago. Why you don't have attention? For what I explained. And it supplies posterior wall, do you see left posterior papillary muscle and 2/3 parts of the interventricular septum. I said you infarction of the posterior wall of the left ventricle, interventricular septum, and posterior papillary muscle. Some minutes ago I explained you and now you didn't answer. Did you understand? For what it is very important? This you must remember from your book. what element supplies the right artery, what supplies the left artery. Did you understand? These coronary arteries, they brought the blood for the heart. After changing of the gases in the heart, the blood comes back into the heart. Do you see? The deoxygenated blood with things from metabolism. You can see from tip of the heart begins, do you see, the vein which goes along of the interventricular groove, rotates into the coronary groove to left side, and you see comes and opens into the right atrium by coronary sinus. Do you remember I explained you? You can see this is called cardiac greater vein. Begins from tip of the heart, goes along of the anterior interventricular groove, rotates to left side into the coronary groove, and comes to the posterior wall of the right atrium and opens by coronary sinus. When it goes to the back, it collects blood from left ventricular posterior vein, from oblique atrial vein, and it gets blood from cardiac medial vein, which passes through the interventricular posterior groove. You can see the roots of the cardiac greater vein. This will be left ventricular posterior, cardiac medial vein, do you see, and the oblique atrial vein between, do you see, two atriums. You can see into the cardiac medial vein opens the cardiac parva, lesser cardiac vein from upper dorsal side of the right ventricle. You can see coronary sinus collects blood, do you see, by 85%, and it will be continuation of the cardiac greater vein, which collects blood from left ventricular posterior, from cardiac medial, and from oblique atrial. Cardiac medial, it has root cardiac parva. And the whole sinus brought the 85% of the deoxygenated blood by sinus. On anterior side of the right ventricle is placed anterior right vein. It can be one or it can be two, and they open by individual openings, into the right atrium. Do you remember right atrium collected blood